Yes. Oh. I just wanted to turn it off because not everybody hears what I'm saying. Mag die nog heel even uit? En hoe doe ik dat ook weer?
Nou, je ziet het groene lampje en is die aan. Als je hier op die knop drukt, één
Oh,
keer kort, Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this launch event for the G20 Digital Innovation Alliance, where we celebrate the crucial role of startups in driving innovation and growth in the digital economy. My name is Stijn Drinkenberg, and I'll be your host for today. As we gather here today, we want to recognize the importance of startups in transforming our world, pushing the boundaries of what is possible, and contributing to economic development. The G20 Digital Innovation Alliance is a powerful platform that brings together the brightest minds, innovative companies, and forward-thinking governments to provide digital innovation and entrepreneurship. This year, the G20 presidency is being held by India, who will organize a 3-day summit between August 16th and 19th in Bangalore, with the Netherlands as one of the guest countries. With the support of the Indian Embassy, the Dutch government, and the Ministry of Economic Affairs, the goal is to engage, showcase, connect, support, and celebrate the 6 best startups in the Netherlands. The Alliance recognizes that startups are a key engine of innovation, creating new products, new services, new business models, and anything that can disrupt traditional industries and create new markets. The Alliance aims to foster an ecosystem that supports startups, including access to capital, talent, and infrastructure, as well as policies that encourage entrepreneurship and innovation. By providing startups with the resources that they need to grow and to thrive, the Alliance believes that they can help address the world's most pressing challenges and drive economic growth and job creation. And with that, we'll go to a video, I hope.
G20 represents around 85% of the global GDP, over 75% of the global trade, and about 2/3 of the world population. Led by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, India, in its year of G20 presidency, aspires to bring humanity together to help shape a new paradigm of sustainable globalization inspired by the traditional philosophy of Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam, or one earth, one family, one future.
भारत की G20 अध्यक्षता इंक्लूसिव, एम्बिशियस, डिसिसिव और एक्शन ओरिएंटेड होगी.
With the world fast adapting to digital innovations, India is inviting global startups and innovation from all G20 member initiatives in 6 sectors under Digital Innovation Alliance. The G20 Digital Innovation Alliance Summit will be held in the city of Bengaluru and will see global speakers, startups, unicorns, industries, corporate, and the government aiming to showcase digital solutions for various world economies. The summit will not only celebrate the startups but find transformative digital solutions that are needed for the betterment of economies and the upliftment of humanity. Transforming billions of lives across the globe, the Digital Innovation Alliance is a decisive step towards equitable growth for one and all, with the vision to create a futuristic, prosperous, inclusive, and developed society at its core.
Today's launch event is the first stepping stone to showcase the Alliance commitment to startups, and to give precedence to that, we have 3 very interesting and very important guests who will be joining me in discussing the opportunities that this great event creates for startups in the Netherlands. But before I introduce you to our guests, we have a very special message from Her Excellency Mrs. Rinat Sandhu, the Ambassador of India to the Netherlands.
Good afternoon and warm greetings to all of you. I welcome you all for this G20 Digital Innovation Alliance inaugural event. I am very happy to see such a large participation of young leaders from the Dutch startup ecosystem in today's event. As you all know, India has taken over the G20 presidency from the 1st of December 2022. And India has invited the Netherlands as a guest country, as we strongly believe that Netherlands can bring a lot of value to the G20 agenda because of its expertise in a number of priority areas. For the uninitiated, the G20 or the Group of 20 comprises of 19 member countries and the EU as members and represents 85% of global GDP, 75% of international trade, and two-thirds of the world's population. As part of the G20 presidency, the Indian Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology has launched the G20 Digital Innovation Alliance, also called the G20-DIA, to recognize and support innovators that have digital solutions for various problems. The G20-DIA program seeks to engage the startup ecosystem stakeholders from all G20 countries and invited guest countries. The G20-DIA will engage, showcase, connect, and celebrate the startups from various countries that are developing solutions using digital technologies for the betterment of economies and upliftment of global humanity. This program will culminate in a 3-day summit between August 16 and 19 in Bangalore on the sidelines of the G20 Digital Economy Working Group meeting. 6 themes that are of critical significance from global communities are chosen under the program. These themes include education tech, health tech, agri-tech, fintech, secure digital infrastructure, and circular economy. Startups from the G20 nations and the 9 guest countries will be participating across these 6 sectors. A total of 6 startups, namely 1 startup from each of the 6 identified themes from the Netherlands, will be engaged, celebrated, showcased, and supported under this program. These 6 startups would be provided mentoring support, capacity building workshops, and investor and customer connect programs and sessions for 3 months before the mega summit in August. The Ministry of Electronics and IT Startup Hub will organize capacity building workshops, networking sessions, webinars, global connect sessions, funding sessions, etc. for the 6 selected Dutch startups. The Dutch Ministry of Economic Affairs and the Indian Embassy in The Hague have come together to take forward the G20-DIA program in the Netherlands. The Tata Consultancy Services has kindly agreed to be the knowledge and technology partner for this program. We intend to identify and shortlist the 6 startups under the 6 themes by around 15th of May. For this, we have designed a selection process that would start today. The subsequent speakers would provide you further details about the selection process and how you can participate in the G20-DIA program. I would request you all to make use of this great opportunity to showcase your solutions to global problems in the 6 identified sectors. Apart from the mentoring and capacity building support, you would also have an exposure to the large Indian market, an opportunity for global collaboration with startups from other countries, providing the same or similar solutions, and an opportunity to attract investments from global investors. I congratulate Annelies in Teveld from the Dutch Ministry of Economic Affairs and Rutger de Graaf from RVO for initiating this G20-DIA program in the Netherlands. I also take this opportunity to thank Josu Devasia from the TCS for volunteering to come on board and to drive the entire process of selection of the 6 startups under the G20-DIA program. Last but not the least, I would like to wish all the participating startups and incubators the best of luck. Thank you.
A big thank you to the Ambassador, Her Excellency Ms. Renat Sandhu, for that inspiring message. And like she already said, joining me today for this event, we have Satya Pinisetti, the Dutch Ministry of Economic Affairs. We have Rutger de Graaf, advisor for RVO. And finally, we have Michael Sumera, who is the studio director for TCS Space. Thank you all for joining us today here in our Amsterdam, TCS Amsterdam Spaceport, a wonderful dynamic work environment where we welcome many companies, both from small startups all the way to very large enterprises. Let's start up with a few questions that our audience at home and of course our audience here in the room might be interested in regarding the summit and the involvement of the Netherlands. Satya, if I can start with you. Can you maybe tell us a little bit more? I know we heard quite a lot already about the G20-DIA summit, but can you tell us a little bit more? Why is it interesting for people to want to join this?
Yeah, thank you. You might have heard the speech of Her Excellency the Ambassador. She has almost given the complete details, but I would brief a bit. I would take a step back and brief you a bit about G20. You know, India holds the G20 presidency this year, starting from the last December 2022 to November 2023. So G20 works under two separate tracks. One is the finance track, the other one is the Sherpa track. The Sherpa track, under the Sherpa track comes all the activities, all the subjects like health, education, water, agriculture, technology, science and tech, and all these things. So these tracks work through various working groups. Each working group deals with one subject. So now we have a digital economy working group under the Sherpa track that is being led by the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology in India. So we are in touch with the Ministry of Economic Affairs and Climate Policy of, from Netherlands. This ministry has started this program, which is called as G20-DIA, that is Digital Innovation Alliance. The idea here is to encourage all the startups that are in the digital ecosystem, digital space, and promote them and celebrate them and support them in every way that we can. So under this program, the Indian G20 Secretariat is planning to select around 174 startups from across the 29 countries, the 20 G20 countries and the 9 guest countries, of which Netherlands is an important partner for us. So we are planning to select around 6 startups from Netherlands, and as the ambassador has mentioned, there are 6 themes, and the 6 themes are selected in such a way, if you see the theme, each one deals with some modern subject or the burning subject that we are all dealing with. And luckily for us, Indian government has a long association with the Dutch government working in these 6 themes, these 6 areas. So we would be selecting 6 startups here, one under each theme. So the program is up to the Dutch Ministry of Economic Affairs. Both Rutger from RVO and Anna from the ministry would be taking forward the program, and we are looking forward to have the 6 names by at least by 15th May. Yeah.
Thank you, Satya. Rutger, we heard that, of course, there's an abundance of ideas. We have plenty of ideas, and we already want to support these startups. But what would you say are one of the key challenges that startups face with regard to, let's say, accessing funding or talent or infrastructure? Which challenges do startups face?
Well, the biggest one at the moment is talent also. And that's a really interesting one if you look at the G20, because generally these countries have a large population because they represent a large part of the world economy. So collaboration on that field is really of essence in this case. So hopefully also the startups that will join us are able to source talent and work together on that field.
Amazing, thank you. Annelies, building on that, what are some of the key challenges you see that startups face when they want to scale their business? And how do you see the G20 Digital Innovation Alliance helping to address the challenges that they face?
investment and funds. So I think, of course, there is never a guarantee, but for startups to join this Digital Innovation Alliance program, there is, of course, the opportunity of showcasing their product or service, and there will also be a lot of investors walking around during the main event in India. So it could very well be a good opportunity to speak to investors and to even get funding.
Okay, great. Satya, do you agree with that? Is there more to gain for startups who join this kind of event?
Yeah, funding is one part of it, which of course would be the main for most of the startups. But the opportunity for networking, where you'll have startups from around 29 countries, and of course investors not just from 29 countries, from across the world. So you'll have, and the networking opportunities, we have the 6 themes running in every country. So we have startups, we'll be getting startups from each theme. So you can network with, say, Dutch startup networks with a German startup or a Singapore startup. So that opportunity, and the other most important thing is the market, the Indian market, the huge market which is readily available to you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great. We talked about the market already. Rutger, let me direct the next question to you. If we look then at economy, so what kind of role do you see startups playing in the overall economic development of the Netherlands, let's say, at this point in time?
Well, we have some interesting data on that, to be honest. For example, also, again, the job market. Startups create a lot of new jobs in the economy. And these jobs are also the jobs of the future. So you see that this kind of roles they take on at startups later also get implemented in larger corporations. So that's for sure one thing. And next, as the Netherlands, we decided to focus really on impact-driven startups, impact on society, impact on the energy transition, impact on the climate. So they focus societal problems at the moment, where it's really a need to change. So that really helps.
Okay, perfect, thank you. If we look at it a bit more, let's say from a business perspective, Michael, we have you of course from TCS Space, and what we see is that startup and scale-ups are seen as a mix of a blessing and a curse in some ways. Because of course the startup and scale-up is there disrupting the traditional business that these large companies are doing. But we also see that they're somewhat of a blessing because they can provide quick technological solutions. How do we help companies? I mean, how do you see that? I mean, how would you say startups could be seen from a business perspective?
I would say that it is basically like this event and this platform that we're having at the moment. We all need an opportunity to grow, and the most that we can do with this startup, I would answer it in this way, that collaboration is basically the effect if you actually give opportunity to people to exercise their thoughts. And like what we do here at TCS Space, we work with startups to actually collaborate with them, give them exposure to our clients. We call them our co-innovative network. That, I guess, would be the most sensible thing to do in business. This is all about collaboration and giving opportunity for these ideas to shine and can potentially shape our future.
Okay, thank you. Annelies, next question to you is, and Satya, maybe you can add to that as well. How can the government promote greater collaboration between, let's say, startups and companies and bigger enterprises? How do you see that?
Well, I think one of the things is that we have to make sure that the ecosystem is right and that we have a great community where it's very easy for larger corporates to find those startups, and that so the larger companies can have faster changes, and for the startups it could be their launching customer, of course. And I think one of the, now let's say the biggest instrument that the Ministry of Economic Affairs has is actually the existence of TechLeap. So this is a big, let's say, aanjager, how you say that in English? Stimulator.
Yep.
And they really work on several assets that they really want to push more. So whether it's focusing on the community, whether it's focusing more on deep tech, on valorization, I think they are also there to organize. They organize certain events. They have certain instruments. But one of the things is, of course, every year they have their Dutch State of Tech, and there it's a great example where startups come together with corporates, with governments, to meet each other and to cooperate.
Okay. Satya, do you agree with that view? Would you
Yeah,
add to
yeah. See, governments have a lot of role to play here, But the biggest role which a government can play is to take a step back, step aside from their functioning, but handhold them apart from giving various incentives like tax incentives and help them to set up. So you see organizations like NFIA, RVO in Netherlands, like and Invest India startup in India. So these organizations work under the government, but they strictly are not under the government. They work independently and holding these startups like this. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
And maybe to add, it's also actually, that's maybe also how this kind of initiated as well, is that we have, as a Ministry of Economic Affairs, a MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, with Invest India and with the Netherlands, the Dutch Embassy in India. So this is a MOU that at least lasts till 2024, and this kind of should create more the right environment of, so to say, to really stimulate in a soft way that we have more cooperation between the two countries, and that we encourage business trade missions between the different countries. So I think that's also a way to help that.
Amazing. Thank you. Maybe with that, Michael, you can show us how the process would look from now, let's say the launch, up to the 15th of May. Can I hand word over to you?
Sure. Can we show it in the screen?
Yeah, I hope so.
Or I think it's you can see it online. So primarily the first date towards May 15th in the middle, we will have an orientation. An orientation if you have any more questions on how you still need to finish or you still need to submit prior to on the 15th, we will hold an event where
Bit of a tech problem, yeah.
It's excited. on the 15th of May, we will hold an event where it's like a Shark Tank. We will be hosting all of these startups, and we will be selecting the top 6 at the end of the day, which you guys will be there. Yeah, that's about it on the 15th.
That's about it. Okay, then let's continue. I have a few more questions for you, if that's okay. Annelies, of course, we see that there's a lot of knowledge that's coming together in this G20-DIA. How can, because with all this available, how can startups really benefit from that? There's a lot of expertise, a lot of resources to be benefited from. And why is the G20-DIA the best venue to profit from that?
Well, I think one of the good things they do is in the way forward to this main event, there will be a lot of like digital online support. So whether it's pitch training, workshops, whether it's networking, online events. So I think it's not only applying now or registering now and then you just wait and sit back and okay, yeah, and then it will be the main event in India. No, it's really, they really work towards that main event. So I think startups can really benefit from the several, let's say, pre-roadshow sessions that are being organized online. So then you can just enjoy that and participate from the Netherlands behind your laptop.
Okay.
It's more than just networking, it's introductions. And I think that's a crucial part. For a lot of these Dutch startups, it's really interesting to harvest the knowledge of TCS in the ecosystem in India to get the right context, get introduced to the right people, or to potential customer, clients, investors. And that's really interesting. And for some of the Dutch startups also, the Indian market is a way larger market than the Dutch on specific topics like sports data. The Netherlands is not that big, for example, at cricket, but India is. So if you have a solution for that market, that's tremendous, an opportunity.
So there's huge global potential as well for these sort of projects.
It's a global stage in one of the biggest consumer markets in the world. So it is interesting for a lot of Dutch startups.
Is it something that in India is also looking for, Satya? Would you agree with that?
Yeah, they've mentioned it. Between May 15th to the summit in August, so we have around 3 months. There are a lot of activity. There will be a lot of activity in these 3 months. There will be a lot of networking sessions, capacity building sessions, funding sessions. There will be a lot of pitch calls, many pitch calls by the startups. And as Redkan mentioned, a lot of networking opportunity. They would be meeting the other startups even before going to the summit. Online, they would be meeting all the investors, they would be meeting all the ecosystem, the government. I mean, there will be a lot of presentations by the governments as to what are the incentives that the government is trying to come in and pitch. So there's a lot of activity going on in between these two.
Okay,
Yeah.
great, thank you. Annelies, another question. If we're looking at nowadays there's a lot of discussion also about equal opportunity, about opening up to everyone and making sure everyone has equal opportunity to do things. How do you see the government encouraging, let's say, maybe more women or more minorities also starting their own businesses and getting their opportunity? And maybe, Rutger, you want to react to that as well. Maybe the mic is not... I think,
Well,
you can start with that,
I would
Rutger,
take it.
please.
One of our main partners, TechLeap, just launched a D&I, a diversity and inclusion group, leaders in tech, where we focus really on introducing the opportunities more to female entrepreneurs, but also diverse entrepreneurs from different minorities in our society. Broader, what's really interesting in the case of India, we have a program called Dutch Good Growth Fund, where we help incentives, startups from the Netherlands, do business abroad in, for example, India, and the government supports them financially, but also on a knowledge basis on the local markets. So that's really interesting.
Okay.
Yes, and maybe to add is, maybe to add is good to, at this moment, we just finalized within the Ministry of Economic Affairs the new, let's say, letter for the Parliament about the new Dutch startup policy. And really one of the things that's mentioned that we really think it's important is inclusion and diversity. So it's really on top of mind also for our minister, and we really want to carry this for the coming years in our policy.
Okay, great, thank you. Michael, question to you. As TCS is supporting startups, at least in terms of exposure, what is the one message that you would want to give to startups?
Probably will be just go for it. Like, this is an opportunity, like what you have said, this is a global stage. And I know for sure from the past clients that I had is that even if they are starting their startups or are just having an idea, they're too scared to start it. So just go for it. This is a platform where you can be critical about yourself and you can grow your business, you can grow your ecosystem in a global stage. And, you know, never forget that excitement. Just go for it.
Maybe I'll extend the question to the other people on the couch.
Yeah, I would like to add to what Rick said. You see, India has the third largest startup ecosystem in the world now, after US and China. We have 100,000 startups in India right now, and of which around 115, 116 are unicorns. So the 1 out of every 10 unicorns in the world are in India, are born in India. So this is an opportunity for all the budding new startups to come and enter the Indian market. And it's an opportunity you cannot imagine. It has to be felt. So as he said, just go for it.
Rutger, anything to add?
Well, I think if you can launch in India, you can have a tremendous impact. And I think that could be a good focus. I mean, you're reaching, it's just announced, I think the largest consumer market in the world at the moment, isn't it? Yeah. So it has an impact directly.
Yeah. India has just crossed China in the population yesterday. I mean, day before yesterday, it was official. Yeah.
And Annelies, finally.
Yes, maybe to kind of, it's in the same line as Mike's advice, but also don't be afraid to fail. Just try it. And let's think maybe in that sense a bit more like the Americans, like failing is, or trying and you fall a few times, you stumble, you get up and just go for it. Yeah.
Okay. Great.
When it comes to, I just add to what Dr. said, it's not just about population. India, of course, is the largest, most populated country in the world. But what is more important is more than 60% of the population is below 30 years. So it's a young country, young population. So that's where the market lies.
Amazing. Thank you. Before we go on to the last part and the last questions I have for our amazing speakers today, we want to do a very quick promotion. If sustainability is something that interests you, please tune in coming Monday between 3 and 4:30. What we have is an edition of our PACE Talks, which is our TCS form of a roundtable discussion about life cycle thinking as a management tool. So if you want to join us, you can join us on LinkedIn Live between 3 and 4:30. And for that, we have a small teaser ready for you.
Have you wondered while purchasing that summer shirt what environmental impact it has made on its journey from cotton field to clothing retail shop? Did you ever wonder how many water species would lose their life because of the facial foundation you washed off yesterday? As a proud owner of an electric vehicle, did you ever wonder the chemical impact you have a responsibility for? Due to the toxic waste of battery manufacturing and end-of-life disposal, or even emission impacts when you are charging your vehicle using non-green power? You are not the only one. We all seem to look at only one part we are involved in and decide on our future, which often turns out to be suboptimal. Lifecycle thinking is a holistic process towards visibility of ESG impacts of products and services we make or use, and take action that will make an irreversible impact to our planet, all living species, human civilization, and our business, considering the complete lifecycle journey. Lifecycle visibility and lifecycle actions is what is needed for an organization of today to radically transform into a regenerative organization tomorrow.
Interested in this and this sounds good for you, please register on LinkedIn at Tata Consultancy Services for our LinkedIn Live event coming Monday. To close off, what we want to do is a quick rapid fire section with our lovely speakers here today. What we'll do, we'll hand them some choices, A or B, which you'll have to answer quickly. And I'll start with a question that will first go for the entire couch. We'll start with you, Michael, on this side. Startup or scale up?
Startup.
Startup, Satya?
Scale up.
Scale up, Rutger?
Startup.
Startup, and Annelies?
Scale up.
Scale up. Oh, we have an equal one. Okay, now a bit more controversial. We'll start on the other side. The Netherlands or India?
They had to start with you.
Oh, the Netherlands.
The Netherlands?
The Netherlands.
The Netherlands?
Of course, India.
Yeah, we have to end.
I will be in the or part, the middle.
The middle. Oh,
Switzerland.
Where are we in the middle? I don't know. Okay. Okay, that's a different question. Michael, we'll start with you again. Would you rather have a successful startup that nobody's ever heard of, or a failed startup that everyone knows?
That is very interesting. I would go with the latter part.
The latter part?
I would definitely go with the first one.
The first one?
Yeah.
Okay. Rutger?
I think the second.
The second as well, failed, but everyone knows it. Okay, Annelies? Same?
Also the second. Yeah.
Same, okay, great. Next one, we'll start with Annelies again. Final one for everyone. Would you rather pitch your startup to a group of investors who are always distracted by their phones, or a group of investors who fall asleep during your presentation?
The first one.
The first one? Rutger?
Phones.
Phones, yeah?
I don't go with both.
You don't go with either, okay, okay.
I'm going to go with the second one so I can wake them up.
Ah,
I
good, I like it, okay. Annelies, we'll have some funny questions in there as well that don't relate to business anyway. For you, the first one. Would you rather have fingers as long as your legs or legs as long as your fingers?
Yeah. long legs, I guess.
Long legs, okay. Satya, would you rather have a business that requires you to travel constantly or one that keeps you stuck in an office all day?
Yeah, I like traveling.
You like traveling?
Yeah.
Constant traveling,
Yes.
okay. Rutger, would you rather have a business that produces a product or one that produces a service?
Product.
Product. Product man, okay. Annelies, would you rather have a startup that grows too quickly and becomes difficult to manage, or one that grows too slowly and has difficulty reaching its potential? Yeah, the balance would be great, but we need to choose, unfortunately.
Okay, then the growing too fast.
Grow too quickly, okay. Mickey, for you, would you rather have a business that relies solely on social media for promotion, or one that relies solely on word of mouth?
Word of mouth.
Word of mouth. Okay. Small community for you then. I see. Rutger, would you rather be able to talk to plants or have the ability to control the weather?
The weather.
Yeah, we're Dutch. Yeah, I should have known that.
Control the weather, you control the plants. Yeah.
Annelies, would you rather pitch your startup to a... Oh, sorry, that one is already we had. Satya, would you rather have a bottomless cup of coffee or an endless supply of chocolate?
Chocolate.
Endless supply of chocolate.
Yes.
And is that different for people on the couch? Would anyone?
Coffee. Most
Coffee.
definitely.
Coffee as well, really?
Coffee.
Coffee, okay. Okay, and with that, we've come to the end of the rapid fire session, and we have a little bit of time left. So is there anyone in the audience who might have a question for one of our speakers here? Yeah, we have a question, please. Sir.
Yes, can you hear me? Or, yeah?
You can take the mic.
We have the mic here as well, yeah.
Hi, my name is Joost van Oudijk. I've been active in India and in Europe for that matter with startups for about 20 years now. A question I have is, can you please define what you mean with a startup? So I understand that in terms of the scope we're talking about. That's question one. Related to that as well, I don't know exactly if we talk about the scoping of the 6 areas, if we, for example, take health tech, what do we mean with health tech? Because I can imagine a lot of things which might not fall into that bracket. So actually I have 3 questions. So that's my second question. And the third question is kind of related to the first one, I guess. To have a successful registration and be recognized, what are the criteria?
Okay, let's start with the first question. So what defines a startup, I think? Those
See, if you see the invitation, we wanted to make this a very broad program so that the maximum number of startups could join in, could take advantage of the situation. But generally, when you say startups, it cannot be a company which has been in presence for the past decade or so. So we are looking at companies which are less than 5 years of. It need not be just startup; it can be a scale-up also. Young company which is small in size, less number of employees, which is still to expand to new markets. That's the criteria. But still, as I mentioned, we wanted it to be very broad, and we wanted as many companies to come in as possible. Then, with regard to the issue of EdTech, again, if you see all the 6 themes here, they are named in such a way. So anything that's related to technology. So we have, there is a separate program under Startup India, which looks after the startups there. There's a parallel program going on. But the MATI here is looking at startups which are in the digital space, tech space. So it's limited to that extent. So anything that's tech, anything that's digital in these 6 themes, and business can be of any type, it allows it. Yeah.
Lisa. Yeah, and the last question you had was surrounding. How can you register and be successful?
Well, one of the important criteria will be impact. So meaning you can show what will you benefit with entering the larger G20 market. So what's your contribution to customers, to the climate, to energy transition, all of these 6 domains we've selected, how are you going to impact that? That's also one of the questions that with the application will be there.
Yeah, because when you have 174 startups there making their pitch calls and you have the investors there, so it's only the impact that startup can make which could attract the investors, right? So we wanted to have the startups which have that impact, the promise of that impact. Yeah.
Does that answer your question?
Not entirely, to be honest, because it's very high level.
But again, I would come back to the first question again. So if you see, a startup is defined differently by each country, right? So in India, it has a different definition. In Netherlands, it has a different definition. But here we have startups coming from at least 28 countries. So we didn't want to have a financial criteria to define a startup here. That's my idea, because it changes with each country. So, and we left it to the governments of those countries to have some criteria, which I've seen they also wanted to make it very broad to attract as many startups as possible. That's why they reached to all the startup ecosystems here.
Yeah, and so we keep talking all the time about startups, but as you say, it can be startups or scale-ups. So we don't have a very tight criteria or, let's say, limitation, but yeah. But we can also discuss this in detail later if you have additional questions.
Are there any other questions from the audience? Nope? Okay. Then, first of all, let me thank the speakers very much for entertaining us and for giving us all the answers to the questions. I hope for the people at home it was very useful as well, and for the people in the audience. I would like to ask for a huge applause for the speakers here today. And with that, thank you very much to the people at home, and we hope to see you soon again, and hope to see all the startups on the 15th as well. So thank you very much.